You are watching Metropole Television. This is most certainly business. I am 2146. That's your SMS line at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. I am at Charles_Kiage. Let's get into that conversation that we spoke about this morning, therefore. Now, let's turn the spotlight to Kenya's petroleum energy sector, where we'll focus on the milestones and challenges that Kenya has met so far. Now, to discuss this, as we have been teasing it, we are joined by the Principal Secretary in the State Department of Petroleum, Andrew Kamau. Welcome to Metropole TV.
Thank you.
Happy to have you around. I want to start from a very broad perspective in terms of understanding where we are in this sector. And talk to me about Africa. I mean, you have a wide array of experience that goes all the way back to 25 years. When you look at the energy sector in Africa, from where you said in this morning, Mr. Pierce, what really takes for you?
I don't know. I mean, look, the energy, the petroleum sector is quite big.
Yes.
There's the downstream, midstream, upstream.
Yes.
So I'm not sure where you want to start. Do you want to start upstream or?
Let's begin with the upstream.
I think upstream in the last 25 years is that the exploration has moved from West Africa to East Africa. I think that's the biggest change.
Yes.
And in that gas has become the big player.
Yes.
Yeah, especially with the whole climate change. People are moving away from coal, so they're moving to gas as the form of energy for power generation.
Yes.
So gas has become quite a big player now.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Just before we run away from the upstream to the downstream when it comes to your outlook on the energy sector in Africa, when you say that while the exploration is now come to East Africa, can you paint an image of what you're talking about in terms of the chances for East Africa in that sector?
Well, first of all, you have to understand 20 years ago, the only thing that was going on was probably Mozambique.
Yes.
Where they were then producing gas, and from the gas then was being supplied to South Africa, where they had a gas to liquids plant. Since then, of course, you've had Mozambique, which
Yes.
has had fantastic findings. You've had Tanzania,
Yes.
again in the Ruvuma Basin.
Yes.
You've had discoveries in Uganda, in Kenya. So it's something that is happening, and maybe will change the way we look at the oil industry in this part of the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are you saying that, well, finally, that we have a potential to actually get to the world map in terms of East Africa, in terms of the energy sector?
Yes, we do have a chance.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you put it? I mean, when do you think that the fortunes of East Africa are going to get recognized?
Well, they're ongoing now.
Yes.
You've seen Tanzania and Uganda, they signed their deal for their pipeline.
Yes.
We've got discoveries in Kenya. There are possibilities of offshore Kenya, quite a few of them. Tanzania from the gas side of it, Mozambique from the gas side of it. So I think, there is quite a big chance that
Yes.
things are going to happen.
Interesting, therefore, because I want you to paint for me the downstream, therefore. I mean, yes, we're talking about chances, we're talking about the potential, we're talking about the shift, but there's this general feeling that when it comes to the energy sector, especially in Africa, it's not still good for Africans.
Oh, that's not true. If you look at it 20 years ago,
Yes.
this country was dominated by the majors. So you had Shell, Total, Agip, Caltex. Today, it's mainly indigenous players.
Yes.
It's the same in Tanzania. It's the same in Mozambique. It's the same everywhere you look, Uganda. It's mainly the indigenous oil companies that are dominating.
Yes.
So I don't understand how anybody can say that it's not been good for Africans.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's not there yet. Would you agree that?
No, we are there.
Yes.
I think if you look at even the professionals who are in this business,
Yes.
there are hardly any expatriates left in the downstream sector in Kenya, particularly. It's all locals, trained locally, traders, operations people, people who understand retail, distribution. It's all Kenyans.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Pierce, I want to point you out to this thing, and I know you're quite aware of it. I don't know whether you're going to spell it this morning or just say, well, that doesn't exist. That the energy sector, especially fuel, is the curse for Africa. Do you agree?
I don't agree. I don't agree in that anything that brings you, even if you today, Simba, you won the charity sweepstake,
yes,
maybe you will probably be able to manage it properly. But it's anything that comes windfall at once. I think one of the things that has been good for the latecomers like ourselves is that we've been able to see how others have performed in the way they've used their petroleum revenues or yes, their extractives revenues.
Yes.
We've managed to have laws in the country. We've done audits on environmental social governance and how it will affect us. I know there's currently a sovereign wealth bill that's probably going to come before Parliament. We've had a chance to look at our laws, especially on local content, and I think we are ready. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Now, talk to me therefore, Mr. P.S. I mean, everybody looking at you this morning would want to answer this question. What milestones have you achieved so far since your appointment as PS in this sector?
Upstream or downstream?
Let's start with the upstream.
Let's start with upstream. So the most obvious one yes, is we had our first crude oil export. So
I don't know whether I should let you list them, then we go back at them, because yeah, there's a lot of conversation around that area when it comes to export.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's attack it from there as we talk about your milestones as well. But what we do know right now is that, there are a bit of complexities when it comes to Kenya's exports of oil. Can you elaborate on that area?
Well, I don't know what the complexities are. Maybe you will tell me.
All right, let's come back to the force merger that the company behind exploration, Tullow Oil, did actually enforce. What is the situation on that right now?
It did not enforce it. They declared force majeure and the government rejected it.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's no longer there. They have lifted it. Yeah.
What were the reasons behind? We saw the reasons.
Well, yes, as far as the government is concerned, there are no reasons.
Yes.
But maybe for Tullow, their reasons were COVID, some tax law,
yes,
things like that, which for us we did not feel warranted force majeure.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Let's therefore talk about the potential. What is our potential? What's our potential in terms of the oil exploration?
So oil exploration in northern Kenya is small, compared to the real numbers. You're talking about maybe 120,000 barrels a day. The world production of oil is 100 million barrels per day. So 100 million times 100,000. So you can see it's small.
Yes.
But and I keep telling people, it's not about, you see, the oil in northern Kenya is not about the oil in northern Kenya. I know people are fixated. They seem to be like deer in the headlights. It's not about the oil in northern Kenya. For example, because of the oil in northern Kenya, we've now begun the acquisition of land along the Lapsset corridor. So I'm sure you saw
yes,
about 2 weeks ago there was a gazettement to inquiries for that land. So it's been surveyed. The initial environmental social impact assessment has been done. Now it's about acquiring the land. We've been talking about Lapsset for years. And this is the first time, because we have an anchor project, that we're able to acquire that corridor.
Yes.
And there are many things that come with the corridor. There's the port of Lamu. There's the roads that are going to be built. There's the possibility of rail that's going to be built. And all the developments that will come with that corridor.
Yes.
So yes, you have 100,000 barrels of crude oil production there, possibilities. But you also have the corridor. Now what happens is that with all the other blocks along the route, now you have an exit to the sea. So if I don't have a big development, if I don't find, let's say, hundreds of billions of barrels there, I can still produce the oil. Yeah, because I have now a pipeline that exists.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are the things that you have to think about. What is it a precursor to? And not to get fixated with the one thing,
on the fact that, yes, Kenya is now in the map of oil-producing countries.
Yes, it's about development in the northern part of Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah, because for the longest time, we've had the Central Corridor, which is Mombasa to Kisumu. And don't forget that railway line that was there was not built for Kenya. It was built for Uganda.
Yes.
That's why it was called the Uganda Railway. So accidentally, but then the development has happened all along the railway line. So people have to really look at and see this is the kind of infrastructure that brings development to a region. Yeah, not just the oil that's flowing through the pipeline, because it's in the end, 20 years later, the oil is finished.
Yes,
you still have the infrastructure. Yeah.
All right, let's paint a clear picture of then. Is the mining right now? Is the exploration continuing, and when is the exploitation going to resume?
So exploration is continuing.
Yes.
I think now what we are trying to put together during the course of 2021 is what's known as the field development plan. Yeah, what does that look like? How many wells are we going to drill for oil? How many are we going to drill for water? Because you need water to produce the oil.
Yes.
You'll need to build a pipeline for water from Turkwell Dam to Turkana. So those are all the things. So the land acquisition process is ongoing, both in Turkana and along the corridor from Turkwell now to Turkana.
Yes.
The Lapsit corridor is ongoing. So those are the things that are going to happen during 2021.
Yes.
And of course finalize host government agreements and the other agreements that will be required for us to go out and raise money to develop the oil fields.
There have been some reports in the media that we have to wait until 2025. Would you confirm that?
It's possible.
It's possible.
Oh yeah.
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 What would you think will be?
Look,
Yes.
Simba, the thing is, there are so we deal with Kenyans.
Yes. Yes.
One of the things that the most emotive is land. If the people in Turkana decide not to give up the land for the development, it could be open-ended. It could be 2030. So it could be next year. So it's a bit of an open-ended question.
Yes.
Yeah. I think all of us have to understand that we have to look at the bigger picture on what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was actually going to be my next conversation point. So we just avoid that area right now.
Yes.
In terms of whether or not the Turkana people would decide to give you that land.
Yeah.
What would you say is your next milestone again?
So our next milestone, what we're doing now is that we believe offshore Kenya is probably the place with the greatest potential.
Yes.
So we've gone out to do what's known as a multi-client three-dimensional seismic study.
Yes.
So what that means is that somebody will come, take pictures of under the surface of the sea to see where there are possibilities of oil. Yeah. So through seismic. Then at that stage, we will, towards the end of next year, we'll go out into the market and say, look, this is what we think is under the ground in Kenya.
Yes.
These are the possibilities. We would like you to come and take up acreage offshore Kenya and start proper exploration in terms of drilling wells.
Yes.
This is where I see Kenya's main possibility is. It's offshore Kenya.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what would you say has been the response so far from the people that you're talking to?
So we finalized the tender. It's just going through the legal processes before award.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to me, but still on the same as well. I mean, everybody does know that you have won. Back in 2005, you were called the Deal Maker of the Year. That's quite a title, especially that goes with you. So when you look at Kenyan chances at these deals that we're really trying to make so that we give ourselves, I would say, a bargaining power when it comes to that, would you say that the position is properly, or it's a wait and see?
Well, what we've done, and one of the things that I alluded to at the beginning of our discussion,
yes,
is it's new. Everything is new. Everything we're talking about, exploration, is new, especially from the time of now production. Yeah. So one of the things that has been happening, especially for the last 6 years, is that we've been doing a very intensive, what can I say? It's knowledge transfer,
yes,
to Kenyans in the civil service.
Yes.
So if it's environmental, if it's the deal makers, if it's law, if it's treasury, if it's, so that people are ready. Yeah, because it's something new. People want getting this knowledge just by sitting at home. So because it's a new thing, we have to begin to pass on this knowledge, and it takes time.
Yes.
Before you become really competent on it.
Yes.
Of course, we've brought in consultants as well, who our young people can shadow and learn from them. And finally enough, they've been Kenyans, who've worked outside the country and have been in the oil markets. So this is one of the things that we have been doing. So hopefully by the time we get to 2021, 22, we'll have competencies. But that it doesn't end there. Somebody has to build the infrastructure, and oil and gas infrastructure is quite specialized. So you need all the artisans, and I keep saying this, that these are real jobs,
Yes.
and not only are they real jobs, they're transferable. They're not only for Kenya, you can export them everywhere in the world. So, I always like to encourage young people when I see them, please, these are real jobs. For example, when you went to university, you had BCom students. And in the evenings, what did BCom students do?
I would do a bit of selling here and there.
What do? They went and did accounting courses.
Yes.
Accounting is not. It's a vocational skill.
Yes.
Yeah. But engineering students, they just do engineering. They don't do technical, the technical side of it, which is
yes.
Being an electrician or auto mechanic or those sort of things. And this is what I encourage people to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I just want us to go through one major milestone that you'd like to mention this morning again, just before we move into the other areas of our conversation this morning, Mr. Pierce. Any other that you want to mention?
Well, that's upstream.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything else going on in upstream.
Let's go downstream then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So downstream, I think one of the biggest things that we've done is, for example, the fuel that comes into the country. We had long waiting times that were there. We had to finish the new pipeline, line 5, which is line 5. So that's finished.
Yes.
Which has really improved the way we transport our fuel and the days that ships have to wait offshore Kenya.
Yes.
So that's been a big milestone. I think the other big thing is the awareness of that LPG is not just a fuel for rich people. Yeah, it can be used by everybody.
Yes.
And it has brought a lot of awareness. All of a sudden, there's a rejuvenation in the market. We've managed to change the law into legal notice 100, which was there before there was another legal notice. And one of the things that we've brought in the legal notice is a reticulation. So to go with one of the big four, which is housing. Yeah. So rather than everyone buying a gas cylinder to put in their house, they can have piped gas to their houses in the new bills. The old bills, of course, they're still there. Mm-hmm. The cylinders are still there. Yes. We've moved away, also now moved towards technology. So all of a sudden you see people experimenting with prepaid meters.
Yes.
for gas. I think also because of the surge, we've had 4 new LPG cylinder manufacturing plants built. Mm-hmm. So these are manufacturing jobs again that are there. Reliance on imports has been reduced. So on the downstream, those I think are the things that we can talk about.
Yes, and it's a good thing that we're mentioning the downstream side, because that's where we got a lot of conversations from, especially from our audience who were really specific on you responding to what they have seen in a couple of, I would say 2 months back now, when local prices, especially for kerosene, have been on the rise. Would you like to give them a technical and an economical response as to why that price is so?
I think what they should first be asking is why were prices going down 3-4 months ago?
Yes.
So, if it goes down, it has to come up eventually.
Yes.
So, of course, there was no demand, and that's why kerosene prices went to an all-time low.
Yes.
Now, of course, the market has to stabilize and recover, and that's why they've gone back up again.
Yes.
Yes.
Basic response?
That's it.
Deeper response? In terms of the way the economy operates.
It's about demand. We live in the world.
Yes.
We are not living on an island somewhere on Mars.
Yes.
So of course whatever happens in the world affects also our local prices here, because we import. And so what had happened is, of course, for most of the world, you and I spoke about this earlier, it was on lockdown. So there was absolutely no demand.
Yes.
Refineries needed to keep going. Crude oil prices dropped. So if crude oil prices drop, all prices have to go down.
Yes.
So once the economy started opening up, the demand started coming back. And once the demand starts coming back, it's about demand and supply.
Yes.
So now the supply, which was still constrained, the prices will go up, and that also affects us here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the rise of this, I would say, fuel prices in the country.
Yeah.
In relation to what we do know, that Kenya is an energy-driven economy.
Yeah.
That you'd expect that most of these prices will be properly regulated. But let me tell you, there's this sense of feeling that we don't have proper regulatory structures when it comes to deciding which prices that Kenyans are going to get this fuel. Would you like to give us a detailed response to that?
I want to tell you one thing.
Yes.
The internet is your friend. Just go to the it's completely transparent. Just
Yes.
go to the energy regulation website.
Yes.
The way the fuel is calculated is there. Mm-hmm. You can go back and find out what were the prices that were quoted internationally on that day. You can
Yes.
calculate for yourself what they were. It's the cargoes that come imported in this country between the 10th of the month and the following month, the 9th. So we've priced in already what the prices are going to be for next month, which was up to the 9th. So
Yes.
tomorrow's prices are there, while today's prices are there.
Yes.
It's completely transparent. It's auditable. Anybody who wants and who is interested, really interested, can go out and find out for themselves. It's one of the best managed prices, because don't forget, behind these prices, there are suppliers. There are oil companies who also employ people. It can't be arbitrary. The government cannot be running an arbitrary system where you don't know whether you're going to make money next month or you don't employ people.
Yes.
But this is probably one of the businesses that employs the most number of people. If you look at all the petrol stations that are there in Kenya, all the people who work on the forecourts, the work in the companies, it can't be arbitrary. Yeah, it's very well managed and it's very well regulated.
Yes,
Yeah.
which therefore takes me to my next question. I'm just going to ask it the way that I got it.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk about the Petroleum Stabilization Fund, a very big talking point as well. Is there a way in which the country can manage to cushion the economy from this expensive fuel, regardless of what the international market prices are? Because that's where the conversation point comes at. Well, you're cognizant of the fact that Kenya is a fuel-driven economy, but we get exposed to international prices. Is there a way?
Well, there is a way.
Yes.
You can hedge. You can set up a hedge.
Yes.
And the hedges are very many different types. For example, you could go out and buy what's known as an option,
Yes.
which gives you the right to buy a instrument like a futures or a forward to cushion you against that. But it costs money. It's like an insurance plan. You have to pay into it. It's not free. The problem is, if you want to keep a low price, let's say, for example, and I've used this example of $50 per barrel, you'd have to go out and pay something like $7 per barrel. And given Kenya consumes petrol and diesel about 100,000 barrels per day, you're looking at paying out 70 million shillings per day for the hedge. I think it would be very difficult to convince Kenyans that we pay an investment bank 70 million shillings a day with the hope of one day of getting that hedge done. But unfortunately, if I was a private company,
Yes.
running a private company, and I needed to do a hedge, this is the kind of numbers you pay. Yeah, this is what happens in the oil industry. Like again, I said, it seems to be something that's for a few people who understand how it works. So then that's why we set up the Petroleum Development Levy.
Yes.
So we would set up the hedge ourselves. Yeah. So it's like an insurance plan.
Yes.
So eventually, if we do get to high oil prices, we can then say, okay, look, the prices have gone up 10 shillings. Maybe for this month, we reduce it to a 5 shilling increase. But you know, the funny thing, Simba, is that the prices came down, petrol prices came from 125 a litre to 80 shillings per litre.
Yes.
I don't think you saw a reduction in matatu prices, did you?
Actually, that we did not see that.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, we can do our best as government to cushion you, but if it doesn't translate to you, Unless you have a car, it's not really going to help
It's
you
not
at all.
really going to help them much.
No.
Which is why I just want to take a little break right now, just for 2 minutes, because actually that Petroleum Stabilization Fund, that's where the conversation point comes from, because most Kenyans now are feeling it's sort of like a bittersweet. It sort of favors the government more than it favors them. That's the conversation point. Let's come back, talk about it, sort of explain in layman terms what really that means for anybody who will be asked to pay more for a caution in the future in case international prices rise up. We take a short break here on Business, and once we come back, let's get deeper details on that. Good morning.